The signal from the void. The signal pulsed through the void like a dying heartbeat, weak and fading. On the bridge of the exploration vessel Hyperion, communications officer Talia Reed froze, her fingers hovering over her console. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress call. It's strange." Her brow furrowed as she adjusted frequencies. "It's using an old Earth military protocol. Pre-Exodus." Captain Rhea Donovan looked up from her tactical display, her weathered face betraying a hint of surprise. At 43, she had spent most of her life traversing the outer colonies, charting safe passage for humanity's gradual expansion across the stars. But she had never encountered a pre-Exodus signal before. "Let's hear it," she ordered, her voice steady despite the unusual nature of the discovery. The bridge speakers crackled to life with bursts of static and fragmented words. "Outpost Crucible. Under attack. Activating. Protocol. Titan. Anyone, please respond." The bridge fell silent as the message looped once more before fading entirely. Lieutenant Commander Alistair Knox, the Hyperion's XO, leaned forward. "Outpost Crucible. That facility was abandoned nearly 70 years ago during the colonial conflicts." "And what's this about a Titan?" asked Chief Engineer Maya Chen, who had arrived on the bridge moments before the transmission played. Her dark eyes were wide with curiosity and concern. Rhea's face hardened. Everyone in the military knew about the Titans, colossal war machines built during Earth's darkest hours, when humanity had been pushed to the brink of extinction by the Vern Dominion. The Titans had turned the tide of the war, but at a terrible cost. Most were destroyed in the conflict. The rest were decommissioned and supposedly scrapped decades ago. "Plot a course to the signal's origin," Rhea commanded, standing from her chair. "We're going to investigate." "Captain," Knox cautioned, "Crucible is deep in contested space. If the Vern are behind this, then someone needs our help." Rhea cut him off. "And if there's really a Titan out there, we can't let it fall into Vern hands." The Hyperion's engines hummed to life as the ship altered course. In the observation lounge, Maya stared out at the stars as they blurred into streaks of light during the jump. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading towards something momentous and dangerous, worried about what we'll find. The voice belonged to Dr. Ilias Park, the ship's chief medical officer and Maya's closest friend aboard the Hyperion. "Aren't you?" she replied, not taking her eyes off the stars. "The Titans were created for one purpose: destruction on a massive scale. If one has been lying dormant all these years, then it's a good thing we have the best engineer in the fleet," Elias said, attempting to lighten her mood. Maya didn't respond. She knew more about the Titans than most. Her grandmother had been on the engineering team that built them. The stories she'd heard as a child, whispered like dark fairy tales, had haunted her nightmares for years. 72 hours later, the Hyperion dropped out of FTL at the edge of a desolate star system. At its center hung a small rocky planet bathed in the pale light of a dying sun. "Crucible outpost detected on the surface," reported Talia. "I'm still picking up the distress signal, but it's weaker now." "Life signs?" Rhea asked. "Minimal power signatures, but..." Talia paused, adjusting her readings. "There's something else. A massive energy source buried beneath the outpost. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." Knox's voice was grim. "The Titan." "Prep a shuttle," Rhea ordered. "Maya, you're with me. Knox, you have the con. If we're not back in 6 hours or if the Virn show up, get the Hyperion out of here." The descent to Crucible was tense and silent. Maya checked her equipment for the third time. Portable scanner, emergency repair kit, and a standard-issue sidearm she hoped she wouldn't need to use. Beside her, Captain Donovan sat with practiced calm, but Maya could see the tension in her jaw. The shuttle touched down on a cracked landing pad outside the main facility. Crucible had once been a forward military research station, but time and neglect had taken their toll. The durasteel walls were pitted with micrometeorite impacts, and parts of the structure had collapsed entirely. "Stay alert," Rhea warned as they disembarked. "We don't know what triggered that distress call." They made their way through the derelict facility, helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The air was thin but breathable, though stale with the taste of abandonment. Their footsteps echoed off metal floors, stirring dust that had lain undisturbed for decades. "Captain, this way," Maya called, following the energy readings on her scanner. They led to a massive blast door at the bottom level of the facility, its surface marked with faded warning symbols. "Can you get it open?" Rhea asked. Maya studied the ancient control panel. "I think so, but are we sure we want to?" Rhea placed a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever's in there, we need to find out before someone else does." With a reluctant nod, Maya set to work bypassing the security protocols. It took nearly 20 minutes, but finally, the door groaned to life, hydraulics hissing as it slid open for the first time in generations. Behind it lay a hangar so vast that their helmet lights couldn't reach the far wall. But they didn't need to see that far. In the center of the chamber, bathed in the dim glow of emergency lights, stood a colossus. The Titan loomed over them, its surface a patchwork of midnight black armor plates and exposed technology. It stood nearly 40 meters tall, humanoid in shape, but with proportions that spoke of its inhuman purpose. Its head was angular and featureless save for a horizontal visor that ran across where eyes would be on a human face. "Nemesis class," Maya whispered, recognizing the design from her grandmother's technical journals, one of the last ones built before the armistice. Rhea approached the war machine with a mixture of awe and caution. "It doesn't look damaged. Why would someone activate its distress beacon after all this time?" The answer came in the form of a weak voice from the shadows. To warn you." Both women turned, weapons drawn, as a figure stumbled into the light. He was human, middle-aged, wearing the tattered remnants of a colonial militia uniform. Blood stained his side, and his face was gaunt with pain and exhaustion. "The Vern," he gasped, collapsing against a console. "They found it. They're coming back to claim it." Rhea holstered her weapon and rushed to the man's side, supporting him as he slid to the floor. "Who are you? What happened here?" "Name's Garrett, last survivor of the research team." He coughed, a wet, rattling sound. "We were studying the Titan, trying to understand its technology. Then the Viren scouts found us 2 weeks ago, killed everyone else. I barely escaped, managed to activate the old distress systems." Maya knelt beside him, already pulling medical supplies from her pack. "The Vern. But they've honored the treaty for decades. Why would they risk war now?" Garrett's laugh was bitter. "Treaties are just words. They never stopped wanting our technology. Especially this." He gestured weakly toward the Titan. "They've been searching for the remaining Titans since the war ended. This one, it's special. The last of its kind. The only one with a fully intact singularity core." Rhea's expression darkened. The singularity core, the revolutionary power source that had made the Titans possible. After the war, the technology had been banned by both species, deemed too dangerous and unpredictable. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Not long. Hours maybe." Garrett winced as Maya applied a med patch to his wound. "Their main force will be here soon. You need to destroy it before they arrive. The self-destruct system. I was trying to activate it when you found me." Maya's scanner suddenly beeped an urgent warning. "Captain, we've got incoming ships. Multiple signatures, approaching fast." "Too late," Garrett whispered. Rhea's mind raced through their options. The Hyperion was no match for a Vern battle group. They couldn't move the Titan, and they might not have time to destroy it properly. "Can it still be operated?" she asked Garrett. His eyes widened. "You can't be serious. It would require a neural link. The strain would kill most pilots within minutes. But it's possible. Theoretically, it's been in standby mode all these years, not fully deactivated. But you'd need someone with exceptional neural plasticity and technical knowledge to establish the link without fatal feedback. Both men turned to look at Maya, who had gone very still. "No," she said immediately, understanding their intent. "Absolutely not. I'm an engineer, not a pilot. Especially not for that." "You're the only one with the skills to even attempt it," Rhea argued. "Your grandmother worked on these systems. You know them better than anyone else alive." "That doesn't mean I can pilot a walking weapon of mass destruction." The facility shuddered as something impacted the surface above them. Dust rained from the ceiling, and warning klaxons began to sound. "They're here," Garrett said grimly. Rhea gripped Maya's shoulders. "I'm not ordering you to do this, but right now, the Titan might be the only chance we have of getting out of here alive and keeping this technology out of foreign hands." Maya looked up at the massive war machine, her heart pounding in her chest. Everything she knew about the Titans, their destructive power, the toll they took on their pilots, told her this was suicide. But the alternative was unthinkable. "How do I connect with it?" she finally asked, her voice barely audible. Garrett pulled himself to his feet with effort. "I'll show you." He led them to an elevator platform that rose along the Titan's massive leg. As they ascended, Maya felt a growing sense of dread mixed with a strange, almost gravitational pull toward the machine. "The neural interface is located in the command center, what we used to call the cradle," Garrett explained as they reached the Titan's chest level. A small hatch opened into a cramped cockpit surrounded by dormant displays and control surfaces. "The physical controls are just backups," he continued, gesturing to a reclined chair at the center. "The real connection happens here." He tapped a helmet-like device suspended above the chair. Maya stared at it, her pulse racing. "And if I do this, if I establish the link, then Nemesis will recognize you as its pilot," Garrett said. "Its systems will respond to your thoughts, your instincts. You'll become part of it, and it part of you." Another impact shook the facility, stronger this time. Rhea's comm unit crackled with Knox's voice. "Captain, we've got 5 Verne warships in orbit. They're deploying ground forces." "Understood. Prepare to extract as soon as we give the signal." Rhea turned to Maya. "It's your decision." Maya closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and sat in the pilot's chair. "Do it." Garrett positioned the neural interface over her head, his movements practiced despite his injury. "Try to stay calm. The initial connection can be overwhelming." As the helmet lowered over her skull, Maya felt a momentary sensation of cold metal against her skin, then nothing. For several seconds, she sat in silence, wondering if something had gone wrong. Then the pain hit. It was like 1,000 needles piercing her brain simultaneously, each one carrying a torrent of information. System diagnostics, weapons capabilities, movement protocols, tactical analysis. Maya screamed, her body arching against the restraints that had automatically secured her to the chair. Through the haze of agony, she heard Garrett's voice. "Hold on. Your mind is adapting. Don't fight it." Maya struggled to follow his advice, forcing herself to accept the flood of data rather than resist it. Gradually, the pain began to recede, replaced by an expanding awareness that extended beyond her body, encompassing the massive frame of the Titan itself. She could feel the dormant weapon systems, the powerful servos and hydraulics, the pulsing energy of the singularity core at the machine's heart. And somewhere beneath all of that, something else, a presence, ancient and patient, watching her. "Neural link established," a voice announced, seeming to originate from both everywhere and nowhere. "Pilot compatibility at 67%. Acceptable parameters. Activating Nemesis protocol." The Titan's systems surged to life around her. Displays illuminated, showing exterior views from multiple angles. Maya could see Captain Donovan and Garrett hurrying back to the elevator platform. "Get clear," Maya called out, her voice sounding strange to her own ears. I don't know how much control I'll have when it fully activates." As they descended, Maya tentatively tested her connection, willing the Titan's right arm to move. The massive limb responded sluggishly, but definitely, hydraulics hissing as it lifted from its resting position. The ceiling of the hangar shuddered as something heavy impacted the surface above. Through the Titan's enhanced sensory systems, Maya could detect multiple Verne transport ships landing outside the facility. "They're here," she whispered. "Then let's give them a proper welcome," Rhea replied over the comm. "Garrett and I are clear. Do what you need to do." Maya took a deep breath and focused her will. The Titan, Nemesis, seemed to respond to her determination, systems aligning with her intent. She directed it toward the hangar's massive doors, sealed for decades but now the only path to the surface. "Weapons online," the Titan's voice announced dispassionately. "Combat protocols activated, engaging enemy forces." Maya felt a surge of power through the neural link as Nemesis raised both arms toward the hangar doors. Energy gathered at its palms, coalescing into points of blinding light. "Let's see what you can do," Maya said, and released the gathered energy. The blast vaporized the hangar doors instantly, sending a column of superheated air and debris skyward. Sunlight poured into the chamber as dust and smoke billowed outward. Through the newly created opening, Maya could see the Verne forces already descending on the facility, sleek, insectoid ships and armored troops converging on her position. The Titan took its first step in 70 years, the ground trembling beneath its massive weight. As it emerged into the light of the dying sun, Maya felt a grim determination settle over her. She had no illusions about her chances. She was an engineer thrust into the role of warrior, piloting a weapon of mass destruction against an enemy that had nearly destroyed humanity once before. But as the Verne forces opened fire, their energy weapons splashing harmlessly against Nemesis's ancient shields, Maya felt something else through the neural link, something that might have been satisfaction or anticipation. The Titan had been waiting a very long time for this moment. And now, the war that had never truly ended was about to enter its final phase. Awakening the Colossus. Pain lanced through Maya's skull as another barrage of Verne energy weapons impacted Nemesis's shield. The neural interface translated each hit into phantom sensations. Not quite pain, but a disturbing awareness of damage that blurred the line between machine and pilot. "Status report." Captain Donovan's voice crackled through the comm system, tight with concern. Maya struggled to focus through the kaleidoscope of tactical data flooding her consciousness. "I'm holding. Shields at 82%, still figuring out the weapon systems." That was an understatement. The Titan possessed an arsenal that would make a battlecruiser seem under-equipped. Plasma cannons, gravitational distortion fields, kinetic accelerators, and weapons with designations Maya couldn't even comprehend. All of it connected directly to her nervous system through a neural link, never designed for a civilian engineer. The Verne forces had surrounded the facility, their obsidian-hulled ships hovering like predatory insects. Ground troops, 8-limbed soldiers in biomechanical armor, poured from dropships, their movements precise and coordinated. Maya raised the Titan's arm instinctively as the nearest squad opened fire. The motion activated a defensive protocol she hadn't consciously selected. A shimmering barrier of energy materialized before her, absorbing the incoming plasma bolts. "They're testing our defenses," she realized, speaking both to herself and to Captain Donovan. "Probing for weaknesses. What can they do against something like the Titan?" Rhea asked from her position in the shuttle, now safely hidden in a ravine 2 kilometers away. "More than you'd think." Garrett's voice joined the conversation, weaker than before, but still lucid. "The Verne fought the Titans during the war. They'll have countermeasures." As if confirming his words, a larger Verne vessel descended through the clouds, a dreadnought-class warship, its hull bristling with weapons. It hovered directly above the Titan, casting an ominous shadow over the battlefield. "Maya, you need to move," Rhea warned. "They're positioning for a concentrated strike." Maya tried to will the Titan forward, but its movements remained sluggish, uncoordinated. I can't. It's not responding properly. The neural link isn't fully established, Garrett explained. You're fighting the autopilot protocols. You need to synchronize. Let it guide your movements until you learn to guide it. How exactly am I supposed to do that? Maya demanded, panic edging into her voice as the dreadnought's primary weapon began to charge, gathering energy at its ventral surface. Stop thinking like a pilot and start thinking like the Titan, Garrett said urgently. It was designed for war. Let it show you how to fight. Maya closed her eyes, forcing herself to relax despite every instinct screaming at her to run. She stopped trying to impose her will on the machine and instead opened herself to its guidance, its muscle memory from conflicts long past. Something shifted in the neural connection, a deepening, a merging. Information that had been overwhelming became intuitive. The Titan's systems no longer felt foreign but like extensions of her own body. The dreadnought fired, a searing beam of energy lancing toward her position. But Nemesis was already moving, its massive frame pivoting with unexpected grace. The beam struck the ground where it had stood moments before, turning rock to molten slag. That's it, Garrett encouraged. Let it teach you. Maya felt a surge of confidence as the Titan's combat protocols integrated with her consciousness. She raised its arm, and this time a weapons system activated smoothly, a pulse cannon that sent a concentrated blast of energy toward one of the smaller Viren ships. The vessel's shields flared briefly before collapsing, and the ship spiraled into the rocky terrain, exploding on impact. I think I'm getting the hang of this, Maya said, a grim satisfaction in her voice. The Viren forces responded to the destruction of their ship with coordinated fury. The ground troops converged on her position, while the remaining vessels circled overhead, raining down energy fire that splashed against Nemesis's shields in cascades of blue-white light. Maya moved the Titan forward, each step now more fluid than the last. She engaged the enemy forces methodically, the machine's combat algorithms supplementing her engineer's precision. A sweep of the Titan's arm scattered a squad of Vern soldiers like toys. A targeted burst from its shoulder-mounted cannons downed another support ship. But the Vern were adapting. Their weapons fire began to concentrate on specific points in the Titan's shield matrix, seeking vulnerabilities. The dreadnought maneuvered for another attack run, this time deploying what appeared to be massive harpoon-like projectiles. Immobilizer tethers, Garrett warned. They'll try to anchor you, then overload your systems with direct energy transfers. The first tether launched, crackling with energy as it punctured the Titan's weakened shields and embedded itself in its left shoulder. Pain shot through Maya's own arm as the neural link translated the damage. They're trying to capture it intact, she realized through gritted teeth. They want the core technology. That confirms our suspicions, Rhea responded. Maya, the Hyperion, is picking up more Varn ships entering the system. We need to end this quickly. Maya triggered the Titan's defense countermeasures, sending a surge of energy back through the tether. The feedback severed the connection and temporarily disrupted the dreadnought systems, but 2 more tethers were already launching from different angles. I can't keep this up indefinitely, Maya warned, feeling the strain of the neural link intensifying with each passing minute. Her vision blurred at the edges, and blood trickled from her nose. The interface is taking a toll. There's something you should know, Garrett said, his voice solemn. Nemesis has a final protocol, a last resort weapon called the Singularity Cascade. It could eliminate all the Vern forces at once. At what cost? Maya asked, already sensing the answer. Garrett hesitated. It would destabilize the core. You'd have minutes at most to evacuate before it collapses into a miniature black hole. So it's a suicide weapon, Maya concluded flatly, dodging another energy beam while returning fire with the Titan's auxiliary cannons. Not necessarily, Garrett countered. The original pilots had an emergency extraction system. If it's still functional. The conversation was interrupted as the Vern deployed their next countermeasure, electromagnetic pulse bombs that detonated around the Titan, momentarily disrupting its energy field. The neural link flickered, sending spasms of agony through Maya's body. When the connection stabilized, she found herself surrounded. The dreadnought loomed overhead, while ground forces had positioned heavy artillery in a perimeter around her. A voice, alien but translated through the Titan's systems, resonated through the battlefield. "Surrender the Titan, human. Your resistance is tactically meaningless." The voice belonged to the Verne commander, broadcasting from the dreadnought above. The transmission included a visual, a Verne aristocrat warrior, its exoskeleton gleaming with ceremonial ornamentation that distinguished it from the common soldiers. "This technology belongs to us by right of conquest," the commander continued. "Yield now, and we may permit your survival." Maya opened a channel to respond, buying time while she assessed her dwindling options. "This Titan was built by humans, to protect humans. What claim do you have to it?" "A claim written in the blood of our ancestors," the Verne replied. "Your species used these abominations to slaughter millions of our kind during the war. We have spent decades searching for the remaining Titans, not for revenge, but for balance. The technology inside that machine could elevate both our species, or destroy them," Maya countered. "There's a reason these weapons were decommissioned, a reason born of fear and political convenience," the Verne said dismissively. "My patience expires. Surrender, or we will extract you from the wreckage." Maya closed the channel and contacted Rhea. "Captain, I'm running out of options. The Hyperion is in position." Rhea replied, "We can attempt an orbital extraction if you can reach the coordinates I'm sending." The coordinates appeared in Maya's visual field, a plateau 2 kilometers northeast of her current position. Getting there would mean fighting through the tightest concentration of Verne forces. "And if I can't make it?" she asked quietly. A moment of silence. "Then use the singularity cascade. Better the Titan be destroyed than fall into Verne hands." Maya nodded to herself. Decision made. "Tell the Hyperion to prepare for extraction. I'm going to try something that probably qualifies as incredibly stupid." Before Rhea could respond, Maya directed the Titan to divert maximum power to its shields and locomotion systems. Armor plates shifted, reconfiguring to prioritize speed over defense. The Singularity Core at the heart of the machine pulsed in response, channeling unprecedented energy through its systems. "What are you doing?" Garrett asked, alarmed by the readings he was monitoring from the shuttle. "Something my grandmother mentioned in her journals," Maya replied, concentration evident in her voice. "The Titans weren't just built for strength. They were designed for battlefield adaptation." The Vyrn forces opened fire as Maya charged directly toward their heaviest concentration. Energy blasts and projectiles hammered against the Titan's shields, but its momentum didn't falter. The neural link burned white-hot in Maya's mind as she pushed the machine beyond its standard operational parameters. Nemesis crashed through the Verne line like a meteor, scattering troops and vehicles. Its hands transformed mid-stride, fingers extending into blade-like projections that sliced through armored hulls and defensive barriers. The dreadnought attempted to track her with its main cannon, but Maya had learned to predict its targeting algorithms, staying just ahead of the destructive beam. "Maya, your life signs are critical," Rhea warned, concern evident in her voice. "The neural strain is killing you." "Almost there," Maya gasped, blood now flowing freely from her nose and ears. The extraction point was just ahead, but so was the bulk of the Verne ground force. From within the neural link, Maya felt something shift, a presence that had been dormant until now, awakening in response to her determination. The Titan's AI, primitive by modern standards, but designed specifically for combat situations, began to assert itself. Pilot distress detected. It communicated directly into her mind. Assuming partial control functions, activating emergency protocols. The Titan's movements suddenly became more fluid, more purposeful. Its weapon systems engaged with deadly precision, clearing a path through the Verne forces with methodical efficiency. Maya found herself working in concert with the AI, their thoughts and intentions merging into a single focused will. Through the chaos, the Hyperion descended from orbit, its point defense systems engaging the Verne ships that tried to intercept it. The extraction shuttle detached from its underside, racing toward the plateau. 20 seconds to extraction point, Rhea announced. Maya, you need to disengage from the neural link before we can get you out. Working on it, Maya replied through clenched teeth. But the truth was more complicated. The link had become so deeply integrated that severing it incorrectly could cause permanent neural damage. The Titan sensed her dilemma. Emergency extraction protocol available, it communicated. Requires temporary stasis of pilot consciousness. Permission. Granted, Maya whispered, placing her trust in the ancient war machine. The world went black. When Maya regained consciousness, she was lying on the shuttle floor, the neural interface helmet discarded beside her. Captain Donovan knelt over her, concern etched on her face. Through the viewport, she could see the Titan standing motionless on the plateau, surrounded by the wreckage of Verne forces. Did we make it? Maya asked, her voice hoarse. Thanks to you, Rhea confirmed. The Titan initiated some kind of auto-defense protocol after you disconnected. It's holding the Verne at bay while we escape. Maya struggled to sit up, wincing at the pounding in her head. We can't leave it behind. If they capture it, they won't, Garrett said from his stretcher across the cabin. I activated the self-destruct before we left. Once we're clear, the singularity core will collapse. The shuttle rocked as it accelerated away from the surface, racing to rendezvous with the Hyperion. Through the rear viewport, Maya watched as the Verne dreadnought descended toward the Titan, tractor beams attempting to secure it. How long? She asked quietly. 30 seconds, Garrett replied. They reached the Hyperion's hangar bay with moments to spare. As the ship accelerated away from the planet, Maya made her way to the observation deck, drawn by a need to witness the end of the machine that had briefly become part of her. The singularity cascade began as a point of intense light at the center of the Titan's chest. The light expanded, enveloping the massive war machine and everything around it. For a brief moment, it seemed as though a miniature star had been born on the planet's surface. Then came the collapse. The light imploded, pulling matter inward with irresistible force. The Verne dreadnought, caught in the gravitational well, crumpled like paper before disappearing into the singularity. A shockwave raced outward from the event horizon, a final pulse of energy that rippled across the planet's surface. Then came the collapse. The light imploded, pulling matter inward with irresistible force. The Verne dreadnought, caught in the gravitational well, crumpled like paper before disappearing into the singularity. A shockwave raced outward from the event horizon, a final pulse of energy that rippled across the planet's surface. And then, nothing. Where the Titan had stood was now a perfect circle of absolute darkness, a wound in reality that would eventually dissipate, but not before consuming everything that remained of Outpost Crucible and the ancient weapon it had housed. Jump drive ready, announced the Hyperion's pilot over the intercom, preparing for emergency departure. As the stars blurred around them, Maya pressed her hand against the viewport, a strange sense of loss washing over her. For a brief time, she had been connected to something extraordinary, a relic of humanity's darkest and most triumphant moments. And despite the pain, despite the danger, part of her wished the connection had lasted longer. It recognized you, didn't it? Garrett asked, joining her at the viewport despite his injuries. The Titan's eye. Maya nodded slowly. It was more aware than I expected. Almost. Alive. The neural interface creates a symbiotic relationship between pilot and machine, Garrett explained. The longer the connection, the more the AI adapts to the pilot's thought patterns. In the war, some pilots reported experiences that went beyond mere control, moments of shared consciousness, shared purpose. Is that why you were studying it? To recreate that technology? Garrett shook his head. To understand it. The Titans represented the pinnacle of human engineering, but we barely comprehended how they worked. The Singularity Core technology alone could have revolutionized energy production, space travel, medicine, if we could have controlled it safely. Maya thought of the presence she had felt in the neural link. Ancient, powerful, but not malevolent. A tool waiting for the right hand to wield it. Maybe some technology isn't meant to be controlled, she mused. Maybe some discoveries are meant to remind us of our limitations. Captain Donovan joined them, her expression solemn. The Varn fleet is in disarray. With their dreadnought destroyed and the Titan gone, they've lost their primary objective. But this won't be the end of it. No, Garrett agreed. There were other Titans. Not many, but enough to keep the Vern searching. And now they know for certain that the technology still exists, that it works. Then we need to find them first, Rhea decided. All of them, before the Vern can weaponize the technology. Maya stared out at the stars, thinking of the sensation of power and purpose that had flowed through her during her brief time connected to Nemesis. She thought of the destruction she had witnessed when the Singularity Core collapsed, and the destruction it could have caused in the wrong hands. But she also thought of the possibilities, of what humanity might accomplish if they could harness such power responsibly, for creation rather than destruction. "I'll help," she said finally. "The Titans responded to me once. They might do so again." "It'll be dangerous," Rhea cautioned. "The Vern will be watching for us now." Maya smiled faintly, feeling the echoes of the neural link still resonating in her mind, a ghost of connection to something greater than herself.